Hold like this. You don't have to do anything else. Oh wow, look at your skills. Julia's filming skills. Alright, I need like a minute for some post-workout.
I put my finger in front of the camera.
Well, don't do that. Oh. I love your reaction to it. You're like, gross.
Got a lot of fat.
I do not have a lot of fat. I have some fat, not a lot of fat.
Have some fat.
Look me in the eye. It's okay if you're scared. So am I. But we're scared for different reasons. I'm scared of what I won't become. And you're scared of what I could become. Look at me. I won't let myself end where I started. I won't let myself finish where I began. I know what is within me, even if you can't see it yet. Look me in the eyes. I have something more important than courage. I have patience. I will become what I know I am.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is VitruvianQA. Thank you for stopping by. Today I am at, this is Dundas Square in Toronto. Pretty much the busiest intersection in all of Toronto and probably Canada. It's just a little empty right now because it's like 6 in the morning and the sun is like, it's just starting to come up. And I wanted to take this really, really rare opportunity to talk about something not necessarily fitness related. I know that my channel focuses a lot on things that you can calculate, things that you can program, you know, macronutrients, micronutrients. In the beginning of this video, I showed you guys some footage. That was actually from May 2014, which was the first few frames I ever shot for this channel. And the thing is, it took me over a year to go from the first time I ever filmed any content, you know, at all, with, you know, the mentality that I wanted to put it on YouTube. It took me over a year, you know, to actually start putting out videos on a relatively consistent basis. And the reason behind why that took so long was because of the fear, because I couldn't, you know, get myself over that hump where I think like, no one's gonna watch this, this is gonna be embarrassing, you know, why am I doing this? My friends and family are gonna see and they're gonna be asking like, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? For me to get past that fear and to actually go from, you know, like the mentality, because a lot of you guys, you know, whether this is fitness related, you know, school, career, whatever it may be, you may have that thought in your head, but for you to actually go from a mental concept to physically applying whatever it is that you want to do. Today I'm starting a new series which is going to show my 2016 competitive season. I'll be competing in men's physique in mid-August, and I want this series to show the progression of how my body is going to change, what I will do, what I'm eating, how I'm eating, you know, how I'm training, what am I doing to get around obstacles, you know, whether they be mental, physical, whatever I have to do is circumvent these issues when they come up. You know, when you feel demotivated, when, you know, what you're doing isn't working and you have to change up your strategy, how to do it, when to do it. I hope to answer so many questions that a lot of you guys have out there with regards to macros, training. And instead of me just sitting here and kind of explaining it to you and dictating it like a lecture, which don't worry, that will still happen because I feel that that is a great way to get across information, I want to show it, I want to apply it. And being that this is a fresh start and that, you know, so many things, you know, have changed for me. And to be honest, guys, I'm still relatively new to a lot of these things. Athlete sponsorships, the channel, how it's growing and how there's so many new people every day from all over the world and interacting with all you guys. It's still as new and exciting and mind-boggling to me today as it was 7 months ago when I stood on this very roof and announced my first contest prep season back when, you know, just like 800 subscribers of you guys were around here. And I appreciated each and every one of you back then. I do to this day, and I appreciate all the new ones that have joined me. But seeing that this is something new for me, I know that this can be new for a lot of you guys as well, because a lot of my channel is people who may be just starting out with fitness and who are unsure of what to do when they enter the gym. They may be scared of being the weakest guy in the gym, doing the wrong weight, doing the wrong form, you know, not knowing which machines and which weights to use, and they can't do it. They can't get in the gym. They can't, you know, approach a nutrition protocol because they can't get over that fear. And I understand because I have been there. To get over that fear, I think there's something very important that you guys have to remember. And if, you know, don't take it from me. I'm just some random guy on YouTube. Who am I to give like life advice because I'm so successful and I'm like, you know, this amazing guy, and I'm gonna sit here and dictate what you gotta do to follow the Vitruvian physique's like 9 steps to success. No, that's bullshit. But there is a physical principle of the universe, which if you don't trust me, trust science. There are certain fundamental facts and concepts at play throughout the universe which are absolutely undeniable, and one of them is Newton's first law of inertia, which states, and I quote, "Objects at rest tend to stay at rest, whereas objects in motion tend to stay in motion." This means that when you were just starting out, it seems like such a daunting task and there are so many forces acting upon you which make it so difficult, which is why it is so hard to start, which is why objects at rest tend to stay at rest, because it is so difficult and starting seems just like, you know, this preposterous thing, and you tell yourself so many things like, I can't do that, that's ridiculous, like I can dream, I can think about this all day, but to actually go through with it, to actually apply it is just, you know, come on, it's a pipe dream. Whereas if you are able to start, even if you're slow, you're damn slow, once you are moving, objects that are moving tend to stay moving, and in fact they tend to accelerate if you apply sufficient force. And the force is that driving factor that pushes you day after day after day. And guys, it may be hard, but you know what? Day 2 is gonna be easier than day 1. Day 3, still fucking hard, but it's gonna be easier than day 2, and so on and so on. And eventually day 100, you know what? It may not be easy, but it's gonna be so much easier than day 1 was. In fact, it's gonna be a laughable comparison between the two. And it's gonna get to a point where the very notion of quitting at this point has become so crazy and preposterous, and it's far more ludicrous than the very notion of starting was way back when, you know, at the beginning of your journey. Again, whether it be fitness related, career, you know, social life, whatever it may be. Another concept which, you know, relates to this is, you guys know what friction is? This is a force which acts upon anything that is trying to or currently moving. So, you know, you're walking, you're backing your car out of the driveway, you know, you're sliding a book across the table. There is always the force of friction acting upon an object. But what some of you guys may not know is that there are 2 types of friction: static and kinetic. Static friction is the force acting upon an object which is yet to move. So pretty much the initial force that you have to overcome to get the object moving. Whereas kinetic friction is a force acting against an object which is already moving. And you know what, guys? Kinetic friction is way weaker than static friction. Kinetic friction, there are always going to be forces acting upon you, but they are never going to be as strong as the initial forces acting upon you when you wanted to start this journey. That's why starting is, you know, it's one of the most daunting tasks that you will ever, you know, experience. But once you can do that, once you can get over that hump, once you can just like, you know, pick up your balls and fucking do it, it will be easier. It may not be easy, but it will be easier than it was when you started. Day 2, day 3, and onwards, like I said, it is going to get easier. So if any of you guys out there are thinking about starting in fitness and you don't know, I don't care. Go to the gym, you know, start doing a little bit of research into nutrition. Do whatever you have to do to better your life. If you truly want to, and if you truly think about it, do it. You are going to suck. That's fine. I sucked. I probably still suck in some ways, but I'm getting better. We all know, guys, that sucking is the first step to being good at something. And I know it's cliche, and I know that, you know, the quote's been used a million times, but it is true nonetheless. So what I want you guys to understand is that even though some of you may be just starting in fitness, there are still new things that I, as a YouTuber and as a fitness athlete, have to do as well. And I need to get better than I ever thought I could be, and I can't fucking stop. And even though I have done this before, guys, in some ways it is new to me, just like it may be to some of you who are just entering into, you know, this fitness lifestyle. Perhaps there are still new plateaus for me to reach, far greater heights to which I must ascend.
Yes! I will ascend! The universe will marvel to see the ultimate Saiyan potential once again realized! And I will be legendary.
Good morning, YouTube. Oh, hey guys. So I just woke up and allow it to focus. There you go. Today is the day after the powerlifting meet, And sorry, we're like in bed right now. I know we're starting this series off to a very, very sexy start.
Feels so good.
Okay, but yeah, so I wanted to do an official weigh-in or start to this series. And I actually even got a fancy new scale. Oh man, look at this, big spender. Wanted something a little bit better than the old one. That one was always kind of weird. It was like bouncing back and forth. You'd step on it and it would say one weight, and then you'd get off and then try again literally 10 seconds later and it would say a different weight. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense because matter just disappears randomly. No. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see, but it says right there, that's 203.4 pounds, which is actually a significant decrease than it was yesterday. At the powerlifting meet, I weighed in officially at 204.5 pounds, which is actually pretty close considering the cutoff is 205 pounds. Otherwise, if you don't cut weight enough, you'll have to go up to the next category. Yeah, there's actually a lot of powerlifters or UFC fighters which will cut a couple pounds of weight prior to a competition to jump down to the weight class below. If any of you guys are wondering how that's done, usually it's obviously done through carbohydrate reduction and also things like water manipulation. Water weight for us guys, especially larger guys, you literally like a few pounds here or there, it's like that. For some of these girls, like their entire contest prep is like 5 pounds. There are days when I go up and down 5 pounds in a single day just because of water, fluctuations related to things like sodium, glycogen, etc. Also, this scale has like a body fat percentage reading, but I completely do not trust that. And guys, if you have devices that tell you body fat percentage, I don't want to say ignore it, but yeah, ignore it. Like, there is no way to accurately, even remotely accurately, measure body fat percentage without actually using legit clinical grade, scientific devices. For example, I used a bod pod last year and it was still way off. Like, it said it was like 2% body fat, which is, I'd probably be dead. They have things like a DEXA scan, or there's the skin caliper test. There's also the ultraviolet with a color, ultrasound, like skin thickness test, which is similar to the skin caliper, except it actually like sends the signal and then sees on an ultrasound like microscopic layer how like thin your skin is, as opposed to using a caliper, which is kind of like, anything physical like pinching or touching done by a human isn't always the most accurate things, especially when we're dealing with like deviations by a millimeter. Either way, so you have all these fancy techniques which cost like, literally these machines are thousands of dollars. So how is some scale that you can get for 40 bucks at Walmart gonna like give you an accurate or reasonably accurate measurement? It's not gonna happen. I've talked to so many guys who went to the gym and they're like, oh, my personal trainer gave me like some kind of device which I held, and then it told me the body fat percentage. Similar to the scale, what it does is it sends an electrical signal through your body, and body fat, water, muscle, they all impede electrical currents in different ways. So depending on like the impedance on that electrical current, it estimates what percentage of body fat you are. So I assume because muscle is mostly composed of water, I believe it's like 76% or something, like, don't quote me on that. Either way, the electrical current runs fairly easily and then it returns like most of it back to the scale. So it pretty much judges how much went through, how much came back, how much resistance there was, and then through a set of calculations it can estimate, keyword being estimate, how much body fat you have. Because body fat is an insulator, it's kind of like like rubber, rubber is the ultimate insulator. Either way, so it can kind of estimate what level of body fat you have, but it's, guys, like, those things are so wrong. I mean, I've been on that and it says 6%, then I try it the next day and it's like 14%. Like, yeah, really? I gained friggin' 8% body fat in one day? I don't think so, unless I went to like Denny's 16 times in one day, which I could totally do, come on. So yeah, pretty much if you have one of these devices at your gym or at home, use it for fun, absolutely, but I don't really trust it that much. The only way I would ever actually use those measurements isn't for a magnitude, for exactly to know what your body fat is, but to use it as a relative measurement. For example, like, it's wrong today, it's wrong tomorrow, but it's still like consistent in its wrongness. Does that make sense? So if you're 20% today, it doesn't mean you're 20%, but it means that tomorrow if you're 18%, which again doesn't mean it's 18%, it does mean that you probably lost 2% body fat or estimate between then, today and tomorrow. Oh, and another thing, guys, always use a digital scale. Analog scales, which is the one where the needle kind of goes back and forth and you step on it and it kind of bounces, those tend to be so like, wrong, and they're very, they fall apart internally with time, which is why I've stood on analog scales 2 next to each other at the store and they'll be off by 5 pounds. You do not want that. Welcome to the 21st century. It's time to get digital.
2,000 years later.
Hey guys, it is Sunday, March 27th, and I have been officially on contest prep. I think it's 1 week today. You guys may be wondering, like, if you're a week in, where are the videos? Well, they're coming. Actually, they're coming right now. I am editing the video that what I'm recording right now is actually going to be probably part of this video. It just took a while, but I mean, hopefully you guys can understand some of this stuff. I don't know if you guys can see here. Like, this takes a while.
I will become what I know I am.
Oh man, it's so intense with Michael Jordan and the piano and my tears are coming. I'm so motivated. But yeah, I just want to start this series off like, bam! And why? What's this? What is this? I don't know. One thing which is crazy is the weight loss. But I'll just show you guys, because remember, 204-ish pounds last Sunday. So I don't know if you guys can tell, that is 199.6 pounds. And this is even my morning weigh-in, because I've had like lunch, dinner. I actually had like, a bunch of water, but I actually weighed in today. I think it was as low as 197.6 or 198 or something. So some of you guys may be wondering, like, what did you do? Because that's literally a 5 to 6 pound weight loss in 1 week, which is kind of crazy because most people try to lose a pound of weight per week. Let me just get the sun going. Ah, sexy. So I want to talk about why that is, because a lot of you guys who have done diets in the past, usually what you do in the beginning is you decrease calories, and usually that's done by depleting carbohydrates. So if you've done this in the past, you've probably noticed a similar concept, and you may be wondering, like, why is that? Why does it always decrease really fast in the beginning and then it kind of starts to go down? I mean, I lost, 4 or 5, 6 pounds in 1 week, when usually a person of my size would like to lose about 1, maybe 1.5 to 2 pounds of weight, preferably fat, obviously, per week. In fact, the ideal, I believe, is 0.5 to 1.0% of your current body weight. So for a person my size, 0.5 to 1.0% would be anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds. Me losing 4 or 5, like 5.5 or something. That's very fast. That's too fast almost. Should I, slow down? Is that too unreasonable? And what I want to tell you guys is no. It's very common. It happens all the time. It happened to me in all my diets and all my contest preps. It's probably happened to you guys, but before you start celebrating and launching fireworks, that's not necessarily all fat. In fact, it's mostly not fat. So the way that your body works, how do I want to approach this? Okay, so we take in carbohydrates, and during the off season, I was taking in 450, 500 plus grams of carbs. That's great. When you start a carbohydrate depleting diet, most diets, I cut my carbs down to 300 this week. And I'll probably be taking it even further later in time as I readjust and reassess my macronutrients. I'll do a whole video on this later. I want to go into a whole 20-minute lecture video on my macros, how you guys can follow along with me if you choose to diet this spring/summer. But for the meantime, point is carbs went down. So what happens when your body takes in excess carbohydrates? It's like, oh crap, we got all this energy. That's awesome. And it stores some of it as glycogen. It's kind of like a carbohydrate. It's kind of like a carbohydrate storage mechanism, and then glucose is just the sugar that runs through your blood. It's pretty much food. That's what you use for your energy, go to the gym, do that stuff, all the good stuff. So you're getting more than you need in terms of carbohydrates. That's awesome. When you start to decrease carbs, your body's like, you know what, we're not getting that many carbs anymore. It's time to use our secondary source of energy, which is glycogen, which is just the same old sugars, except it's polysaccharides, poly meaning many, saccharides meaning sugar, so it's like these long chains of sugars. It's sitting in your muscles and liver, and it starts to burn that up because it's like, we're not getting enough sugar anymore, we're not getting enough energy anymore, it's time to use our backup storage. Now, the 2 backup storages are still carbohydrates, just fast and slow, glucose and glycogen. Only when you start to run out of glycogen as well, when you're glycogen depleted, why is that? It's hard to say. Then you get into fat loss, which is what you want. And only if you even start dieting so hard and just killing yourself, then it'll get into the last stage, which is actual protein, amino acids, and muscle. But for that to happen, you have to be really killing yourself. I'll talk about this in a future video, pretty much how to preserve muscle and minimize muscle and protein metabolism during a diet. It's rare, but it can happen, and there are steps you can take to avoid that. But for the purpose of this video, when your glycogen starts to come down, because it's using it, it's metabolizing as an energy because it's no longer getting sufficient carbohydrates in the form of glucose. That's good because you need that to happen. You have to go through that first initial barrier so that you can get to fat metabolism, you can get to lipolysis. I don't know, it's a word I've only read in books and articles, I've never actually said. Does that ever happen to you guys when you're just like, I used to say like glycogen, now I say glycogen because like 1,000 people pointed out on the internet, they're like, what are you saying? But when that happens, that is good because you need that to happen in order to get to the next stage, which is fat loss, which probably kicks in once you are somewhat glycogen depleted. But in doing so, you actually start to lose a drastic amount of water weight. That is because glycogen, in addition to serving as an energy storage mechanism, long chains of carbohydrates, like I said, it also serves as water storage because glycogen binds water very well. It's water retention. So glycogen metabolized and used up for energy, that's fine. But what happens to all that water that was attached to it? Well, you're gonna piss it out. And you're gonna drink in water as well, but you're probably gonna piss out more in that week because, you know, water comes in your body, but it has to be something there to hold on to it. Sodium is one of those things, but that's a whole other video. There's so many videos I have to talk about. Oh, video ideas, oh, look at all that good stuff. But you eventually lose more water weight throughout your first week of dieting than your body can retain. So even though I may have lost 4, 5, 6 pounds of weight this first week, most of that was just water. So use it as, you know, a great source of motivation. It's like, whoa, weight loss has kicked off and we're off to a good start. But the majority of that is just water weight. Fat loss, you know, this is the next step. It's going to happen. In fact, it's already probably started, but nowhere near as fast as that. If you actually did lose 5 to 6 pounds of pure fat in the first week, you would either have to be consuming like 0 calories, or you'd have to be like a super obese guy and you're still consuming like 0 calories, because that's the only way that I can think of someone losing that much fat. That is not healthy. So guys, out there, if you are starting a cut and you see some crazy drastic weight loss in the beginning, that's fine, enjoy it, but it's not gonna last.